Hi everyone, it's Nicole here today with a card created with the Essentials by Ellen Winter 2015 release products. I am using the Bold Blossoms, which are these outline flower dies, with the Bold Blooms, which are the solid dies, and then the Love You So stamp set. So 3 new products here from the newest release, and I'm using the Elizabeth Craft Snips scissors to cut apart my dies here. This allows me to really get any of those little notches and things trimmed off very easily. These clippers are made especially for cutting apart your dies, so it's not ruining any scissors or anything like that. I'm going to first die cut all of my outlines from the Bold Blossoms die collection from some Nina Smooth White cardstock. Once I have these die cut, I am going to go ahead and die cut some solids as well using the Bold Blooms. They do not line up exactly, but they do line up close enough that I love layering them so that you can get a more solid looking flower. Now a couple of these outline dies, because they're outline dies, didn't die cut all the way the first time I ran them through my machine. They needed a shim. So I went ahead and ran those through again. Once I have all of those die cut, I can start coloring them in with distress inks. I am using the Crushed Olive and Forest Moss distress inks to color in the leaves. And I started with the Crushed Olive, and then I'm going to pounce on a little bit of the Forest Moss. I ended up going a little bit darker a little bit later on, simply because as I was layering the leaves with the solids, I decided I liked the back or the solid leaf to be the lighter one, and then the die on top to be darker, so you could definitely see a little bit more definition in color. I'm going to go ahead and color one of my small blooms with the mustard seed. I went with the more yellow and kind of oranges for this trio of really pretty blooms. And then I pounced on a little bit of the wild honey. And then I'm going to go ahead and color all of this other smaller bloom with the wild honey. And for my last flower, I'm going to use the Scattered Straw Distress ink and color in that bloom with that ink using the mini ink blending tool. So go ahead and get all of these all colored in. I am working on the craft mat. It makes it so much easier to just wipe up the mat when you're finished without getting ink on anything else. I just use a wet wipe to wipe it all down before I move on to the next part of my project. I'm going to go ahead now and color in the solids, and I'm just going to use a much lighter hand so that the Bold Blossoms outline that I layer on top is going to be much darker than the lighter one that I layer behind, if that makes sense. I love die cutting my images from white cardstock and coloring them in with distress inks to create my own colored accents. This way you get exactly what you want when you're using inks like these distress inks here. You can mix them together and get almost any color or hue that you want for your project. Here's where I'm coloring in those solid leaves with the Crushed Olive Distress ink. I'll go ahead and get all of the rest of my images colored here, and then I can move on to putting together the rest of the card. Once I have all of these colored in, I am going to use one of the greetings from the Love You So stamp set, and I'm stamping it with Versamark ink on some watercolor cardstock. This is the Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock. It's sized to the A2 size already. I'm going to sprinkle on some white embossing powder, tap that off, and then heat set that. And then I'm taking a large paintbrush and filling it with water and kind of going back and forth over that area where I'm going to place some ink over my greeting, and then I use the mustard seed ink over that, just watered down with water. And then I took another paintbrush, a little bit smaller one, with some wild honey distress ink and made splatters over that, and then I let it set and dry completely, just air dry. You could also hit it with a heat tool if you wanted to. Before I attach these Bold Blossoms outlines over the solid bold blooms, I'm taking the Wink of Stella clear glitter brush marker and coloring over the entire outline, giving them a little bit of glitter. I'm using the Zig glue pen to attach the blooms over the solid image, or the blossoms, I guess I should say. I'm going to do that for each of these images, and then I can attach them to the background of my card, or the panel, I guess I should say. That watercolored panel where I watercolored over the greeting, I am going to trim that down just a little bit, about a ½ inch from one side and a ¼ inch from another. This is going to allow me to attach it to my A2 card base. I'm going to have it come right from the top of the card, so I'm going to attach it flush with the top of the card, and it'll have a slight border around the other 3 sides, the 2 sides and the bottom. I attached my largest bloom with some foam adhesive, and then I'm tucking the rest of the elements, the leaves and smaller flowers, in with some glue dots. That way I can kind of move them just a little bit, and I can secure those with additional glue dots if I need to once I have them all where I want them to go. The final thing that I'm going to do for my card here is take some Doodlebug Pearl Gems. These are all in shades of yellows or kind of yellow oranges, and scatter those throughout my card. I did secure that panel there to my card base with some foam adhesive to give it a little bit of dimension. And I just love how these pearl gemstones really create a more elegant looking design. Plus they add a fun little touch of dimensional embellishment to my card. I hope you've enjoyed this video showcasing some of the new dies and stamps from the Essentials by Ellen Winter 2015 release. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.